was just good luck.
Yeah.
You know, just being at
Well,
the
yeah,
right place at the right
time.
time.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Now, if I hadn't known anything about this stock, if they'd taken, if I'd been a complete idiot and wasn't even interested in stocks, I never would have been able to get the job in the first place.
Right.
But being somewhat prepared and being lucky, that was the thing.
Yeah.
And then there was times when things were bad, where stocks weren't going well, and I mean, there was one time, and I still remember this, when I hadn't paid my. Oh, this was nothing to do with the brokerage. I was in some business. That was it. Can't remember. It wasn't. It was something. I don't remember what it was, but I was in some business as a partner of a business, and we hadn't paid our withholding taxes. And the IRS
That's
came up.
never good.
The IRS came up and towed my car away.
Yeah.
And your mother cried.
Yeah. I remember that.
So I got the car back the next day. But Jesus, So I mean, it wasn't all nothing but roses and success.
Yeah, no.
but I went through cycles.
Yeah.
There was cycles. There was the electronics cycle. Then there was a cycle of medical things like Medtronics. And I think I told you this one that when I was really rolling in money and happy, I had this friend Phil Grodnick. He was one of my Jewish friends. Phil and I decided we were really on the ball, but we didn't know how smart we were. We were going to form a real estate trust company to invest in properties of these hot companies. And just properties in general,
Right.
industrial properties. So we put some money together, and we called a few brokers, and one guy came in with a great idea. There was something like 14,000 square foot building on County Road 6, almost to Wisconsin, and it was being offered for sale for something like 10% net. You could make 10% net on your money. So if you put up $1,000, you could make. If you put up $100,000, you could make $10,000 after all expenses. Blah blah blah. The place was leased to that at that price to this company, and you could buy the building and have that. And so it turned out. And then they had 6,000 shares of the stock of this company. Was either 6,000 shares outright or was an option on 6,000. I think it was an option on 6,000 shares. An option on 6,000 shares. This company at the company's underwriting price that had already gone out. So this was an option that had book value already. 6,000 shares. And I think it was like $10 a share, $15 a share. Okay. But we look into it. It was this company called Medtronics. And said, no, they're not going to fool us. This company has a really limited credit rating.
Okay.
We're not going to start our first deal with a limited credit rating company.
Right.
So we just passed on that.
Okay. Too bad.
And we figured years later, how many, the options, we could have burned the building. The options was worth $1 million some dollars.
Yeah.
And but there was that kind of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And it was just a hotbed of activity because of this spin-off. And I don't know how anything is going to spin off on driverless cars, but because it'll probably be so controlled by the big boys. But maybe not, because a lot of this driverless car thing is being done by people like Google. They don't have anything to do with the car industry. So maybe there'll be spin-off companies that work for Google. It'll be hot deals because they're doing the switchboard for driverless cars. Who knows? But that only takes you through about 2 generations of my thing.
Well, you from Craig Hallam. I mean, when I was a little boy, one of the first memories I had of you doing. Well, I remember you bringing me downtown so I could see how you made money. I actually expected you to be like counterfeiting coins or something, or printing coins. But I was that young, so I didn't really understand. And then I remember saying, we were sitting at lunch with your colleagues, and I said, "Dad, when are you going to make some money?"
Make some money.
Oh, everybody laughed. I'm like, "What are you laughing about?"
He never makes it. He never makes any money. Well, I think you guys thought that I went down there, sat down, and opened the drawer because I think one time I did pick my check out of the drawer.
Yeah, right, yeah.
That's your job is to go sit down
Yeah, it
at
was
the
like
desk
the
and
Addams
open the
Family, where you
drawer.
pull out a drawer
And you
there's
pick
a bunch
something
of
up, then that's the money.
rolls of hundreds in there. But anyways,
But
after that, I remember you and Kent Hardy starting actually manufacturing those rubbers and having the rubber factory.
But that wasn't Kent. He was in.
Wasn't it Kent? Wasn't
no,
Kent
no,
in
no.
it? I think
Kent was in the early games for young children.
Okay, but
Well, Kent might have been involved. Okay,
I
what
think
happened? What
at
happened
least
was
when I was there, he was there too.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
'Cause
he
I
might-
remember
he-
you had the
oh,
freight elevator.
you
freight elevator.
know, right. You're right because he was the one to help me in the market. He took the pictures of the shows that we
Right.
put on the stand.
Right, you had the
I
point
got-
of purchase display thing.
Well,
you had all the,
I from the more or less ordinary stock brokerage days,
Mhm.
I kind of eventually evolved into more of this oddball startup company thing, which is
Right, yeah.
with stuff that's
Yeah.
going on night and day now. Which is, I don't say I pioneered; it was been going on forever.
Yeah.
But I got into that when most legitimate brokers were just selling, stock in General Motors.
right, yeah.
And anyway, one of the companies that started, I think it was a Craig Hallam company, but it might not have been. It might have been just on its own. Company called United Electroplastics was the name of the company, and it was you could throw anything together and raise money in those days. And this was a new way. They had a new way of plastic molding, and they were going to make. They made these mittens,
Right.
and they were made out of.
This was a rubber.
Polyvinyl, you know, whatever.
Crappy rubber. I still have a pair of them. But if you don't use them, they last a long time.
Yeah, well, and they could be bad and cold. But what they were pioneering was the dip technology.
Yeah, right.
And frankly, that's how, in a way, that's what how condoms are.
And your disposable gloves.
The same thing. Only this was the key here was in the in this case they were. They were filling a hole with plastic and then heating it and then pouring it out and then pulling this out this way.
Right,
Whereas
yeah.
I think in our gloves, I think they had it. I think no, they were. It was still. But one way you dip in is on the outside,
Right.
and the other way you dip
You
in.
pour it in and then dip.
Anyway,
out, yeah.
this was something a bunch of hotshot crazy people had gotten together. They had this machine running down on First Avenue North in the sort of warehouse district.
Yeah, I remember going.
And
there.
I got into it as an investor, and finally I got to know this Dr. Leighton Larson,
Yeah, I remember
who was
name.
who was also an investor, who was a potential criminal.
Right.
Like my friend Bob York.
I remember Bob York.
If I hadn't done Bob York, I'd never been in Chi-Chi's.
Yeah.
Had
He
been
was,
in
he was
Chi-Chi's,
definitely a borderline gangster.
Bob would have never married Vanchi, and
Right,
everything would be a lot different.
That was when he married Smita, but
Well, no, that's right. Smita was the one at the Chi-Chi's. That's right.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I got the thing.
Vanchi came.
Yeah. Well, that's
after
right.
Smita.
But if I hadn't gotten that, I wouldn't have been able to go to India with Dr.
Yeah, exactly.
John.
No, you better figure that out. That'll be all.
But anyway,
confusing.
one
If you don't
thing.
get that right,
Oh, and then this is where your
that's what
mother
we
really
operate off of is
got down on me, and or she's usually been she was a support 99%, but she said, why do you go to these meetings and you go to and she's right. I bet if I put back and did 100 meetings a year,
I think it's the one.
95 of them were basically worthless.
Yeah.
But one works. Something works
Yeah,
out.
that's
And but anyway, we took this. United Electroplastics was making these gloves that didn't work, and I decided, well, I could do something. So I actually stole the design from a regular toe rubber, just had it electroplated and made it into a mold, And I started doing, and
Yeah, I
that's,
remember those. I
and
don't think we-
those things are still good.
Yeah, I don't think we have, I mean, that's exactly that, I don't think we have any.
Well, we probably are gone now, but,
Somebody's
but
asking
if I could snap my fingers and go back into that again, I think I'd take a
Yeah.
shot at it.
Yeah.
But I don't wanna run the machines or anything.
Yeah, right.
But nowadays, you can go over to China and someone else is
Yeah.
running the machines. But what, it was,
Oh.
I think it's safe to say that.
What was the name of your company that made the
I'm
rubbers?
trying to
United
look how they
Electroplastics.